Hello, guys. Hope you all are doing safe and sound. Welcome to your very own channel, the Student Insights podcast. In today's episode, it's a little different. I will not be interviewing a person or a student about their experience about the university and the general kind of interview that you have been used to seeing on this channel. Rather, this week, I'll be talking about a topic which is very much important and is one of the most important documents a student needs in order to apply for their either postgrad or undergrad for their global education. That is IELTS. So this week I would be running around the general criterias, the way the tests are done, and all the modules. It's a general overview about the entrance exam, in which we'll touch briefly upon what each module is, what is the structure of the module, and how is it scored and everything. So if you're an international student or if you're somebody who is planning to go overseas in the coming future and you're still about to know what IELTS is, stay tuned for this for many such videos. So this will be a 5-part episodes. In the first part, that is today's episode, I will just be given an overview about the test, what IELTS is, what you can expect, both the categories, that is general and academic. And then in the further 4 episodes, I'll go deep into each module and some tricks that or some rather strategies that as a student you can use to crack these exams. Although this exam is very important because this is one of the most important prerequisites for securing a seat in a university. And it is also on the flip side a major concern for many international students. Actually, many people fear about this exam. I don't know why. It is just a simple basic test of English language, especially for those students whose first language is not English. So the reason why this exam is conducted is they basically want to know your hold on the language, how fluent you are, whether you can communicate with the professors or with your peer students when it comes to doing projects, what is required from you, can you read, write and speak in a proper English. It doesn't require to be of the highest level. You just need to be fluent and be very in touch with the language. That's about it. So in this, also at the end, please watch till the end because I'll also be answering 10 very common myths that many students and as well parents have about IELTS. So it would be at the end of this episode. So make sure to watch it. And also before I start the episode, please make sure to like this channel, subscribe to it, and press the bell notification so that you get notified for the further coming episodes on this channel. Make sure to also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. The handles are the Student Insights Podcast. Make sure to follow me on both social platforms because there I put certain more important links and some useful tips that you guys use as an international student once you're for your packing, for booking flights, or any of the such topics that we commonly discuss on this channel. And so there would be more, as mentioned, more episodes coming in the future in which I'll provide a deep analysis of all the 4 modules as per my experience. Although let me make it very clear, I'm not an expert or a certified tutor, but I have given both the categories for my exams. That is back in the year 2014 when I went to UK for my master's. That's when I paid for the academic category. And I tried for my overseas immigration just 2 years down the line. Then I paid for the general category. So I have a personal experience of both these categories. And so, but in this video, I'll be specifically targeting about the academic section. Although about 90% of the tests for both the academic and general are similar, just one task different in the writing section. And that's about it. So let's see, and let's begin this episode. So yes, what is IELTS? Let's start with the very basic question in mind. It is an abbreviation for a word and the full form is the International English Language Testing System. In this, it is basically, as I mentioned in the introduction, a language proficiency test which is required for both for your education purposes and as well as for the immigration purposes. So when you are trying to apply for the PR overseas, so that's when as well you need this IELTS test results. The test scores are valid for 2 years from the date of your exam. So once you've appeared for IELTS, the results are valid for 2 years, and post that you need to appear again for it if you want to apply for some other reason. And there are 2 different branches or say 2 different marketing names that do it or conduct these tests. The first is IDP, and the second is the British Council. These both are like two different agencies that conduct this test, but the test level, the way the scoring happens, and even the acceptance by the university is almost similar. But you're mostly British Council IDP. It is very similar. You can appear in any of the two branches. There is no difference in the marking modules, the way the tests are conducted, what is expected from you, and the way the scoring range happens. It's just two different brand names for the same test. And so once you appear the test, from the date of your test, you get an online result published 13 days after the date, and then you receive the hard copy in the courier within a month of a time. Maybe a little less or more, depending upon the situation and everything, especially now given the COVID times. And so this is a brief overview about what IELTS is. So moving on, what are the two categories? As I mentioned, there are two categories in this. One is the academic and second is the general. So the academic is for you who's planning to apply to university to any of the countries, and for general it is usually for immigration purposes, or if you have a job offer and you want to immigrate to a certain country to even work or for a long-term stay, you have to appear this test. So it has two categories. The tests are conducted in a different time frame. So on the day, if you are appearing for an academic test, all the students would be appearing for the academic, and for the general, it would be general category students. So it's conducted on different dates, and I believe there are 48 tests through the year. So you can cross-check that on the internet. Next comes the structure of the test. So the test actually happens over 2 days. It's not a simultaneous back-to-back, or it might be, but usually it's divided. It has firstly 4 modules. So as you see on the screen, on the test day 1, you have the listening, reading and writing test, the 3 modules. It is exactly in this very same order. So it's spread over like 2 hours or 45 minutes, in which you first appear for listening test. Then after that, you go for the reading, and for writing, there are no breaks in between these tests. And then there is day 2, which is specifically for the speaking module. So it might happen that you might have your the 3 modules, that is listening, reading and writing first, and after a week or 3 or 4 days, you might have the speaking test date. Or it can be the reverse as well. You may be appearing for the speaking test first, and then for the remainder 3 modules. It depends and varies from the center's availability and the way the exams are conducted, or the availability of the dates. So the overall structure is this. We have 2 days for this, 1 day specifically for the 3 modules of listening, reading and writing, and the second day is for speaking. So now let's briefly break down what each module looks like. So the first module is listening, and this, as the name suggests, you will be given either a pair of headphones, or it will play on a loudspeaker. So it has 4 parts. So the first part has questions 1 to 10, second 11 to 20, third 21 to 30, and the fourth 31 to 40. So it is usually a test level increases with each part. So the task 1 or the first part might be a little easier, informal language being spoken, and as the questions increase, or you proceed to the second, third, or fourth part, the language may become complicated, or the communication, the conversation may become complicated, not compulsory, but this might be a kind of a structure. And the way it is conducted is, as I mentioned, you would be getting a pair of headphones, or the audio would be played on a loudspeaker. So once you sit down, you have your question paper and the answer sheet. So the audio is only played once. So here you need to have a very good concentration power, and you need to actually do 2 things simultaneously. You have to listen to the audio, as well as keep searching for the question, and then writing the answers, as well as listen to the questions or the conversations in the audio. And in the end, after the audio file finishes, you get 10 minutes to actually transfer your answers on the answer sheet. So what does this mean? So what happens is, when you're listening to the audio, you actually write with a pencil on the question paper itself. So if there are blanks or any missing or a table to fill in, you're listening, looking at the question, and you're writing on the question paper itself. And then once the audio recording is finished, in the end of 10 minutes, you have to write down the answer on the answer sheet in the range of 1 to 40 questions as per the numerical sequence. So this is where you can actually score the highest band in this. So each of these 4 modules, you get a scoring rate of 0 to 9 bands. So there's no failure in this as such, that if I get a 1 band or 2 band, it just states your level and proficiency in that particular sector of the language. That whether you're good at listening or absorbing or understanding the language, this is what the listening test is actually looking for once you appear. And it might have different accents. You might have the first task with an American accent, the second part may be with an Australian accent, or it may be without an accent, plain English. So this needs a little more practice, and there are some strategies that actually you do not have to read every question and how you can score better in listening modules. I would be elaborating those things in the further coming episodes. So please stay tuned, like the channel, subscribe it if you have not. Also press the notification bell icon so that as soon as the next video is uploaded, you're notified for the same. And also don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook. The handles are the Student Insights Podcast. So this is the overall kind of structure for the listening test. And then the second comes reading. In this, you have 3 sections. You have 3 passages. You need to actually find answers for the questions given. And so it's like comprehension kind of an exam or a test. You get 1 hour to complete the test. So you have to actually keep a watch on the time in this test. Unlike listening, the audio is already been recorded for a particular time set. We have 10 minutes at the end. That's also roughly like an hour exam on our test. That is listening module. In the reading, you may end up wasting certain time on certain questions. You might fall behind on time. So you have to actually practice reading tests as well. I would be making a separate episode for this module as well. So please stay tuned. In the further episodes, you'll get this. And in this, you actually write the answer directly in the answer sheet. So make sure you carry a pair of pencils and an eraser. So, instead of a pen, you don't have to scribble and cut and then rewrite. If you feel your answer is wrong, or if you want to change something, you can easily erase it and then write it with a pencil. So this is a brief overview of the reading test. So first we appeared the listening test, second is the reading, and now comes the third, that is the writing test. So writing, and this is where there's a little difference in the general category and the academic test. So first, an overview about the writing test. It has 2 tasks, and you again get an hour to complete this test. In this, the time limit is divided into 2 sections. First one is a shorter task, that is that you need to allot 20 minutes for that. And the second is 40 minutes. Although during the test, there wouldn't be any bell ringing or any notification or any alarm or a separate question for both the tasks. It's totally an hour, and this is a rough division or a time management that you need to keep in mind while preparing for the writing test. So now let's get into mind what is the difference in this writing test or writing module. So as you see, the task 1 in the academic and general, the time limit is similar for both the tasks. It is just the type of the question or the category of question differs in the task 1. Task 2 is kind of similar in both of these tests. And in the academic, the language is very formal because you are a student applying for an educational course. So they expect a more of a formal language. Nothing informal should be written or even by the speaking module that I'll cover in the next slides. So in the task 1 in the academic, the very first point is you have 20 minutes to complete the task, both in the academic and the general section. For the academic, the type of question that you get is to summarize or explain a graph, table, or a diagram and describe the data. You might have questions like, the average decline of population of an insect, or the kind of productivity or the output of a company. So you need to kind of summarize or explain the data in the first task in the academic section. And on the general side, you actually have to write a letter explaining a situation or a problem that you might be having. So this is again a letter writing. So here's where the difference appears in both the categories. In the academic section, it's kind of a report writing in the task 1, and in the general section, it is a letter writing again. 20 minutes for both the tasks. Time limit is same, just the kind of question is different. In the task 2, this is your major task in the writing section. You need to allot 40 minutes for this, and it's a 250-word essay in both the situations. The task 2 is similar. In this, you have to write your opinion on a point or an argument or a situation or a problem. Like an example of an essay question would be, what do you think with the increase in the use of the mobile phones with the coming generation? Will it impact the health of the youngsters or the millennials? So here's where you have to give your opinion giving the pros and the cons, and at the end, the conclusion. I will be going into detail about this for the coming episodes. So this is a brief overview about the task one and task two, the writing section for both the academic as well as the general module. As you can see, the task one is different, the task two is similar, and in academic, it's more of a formal language and more of a vocabulary oriented. Although in general as well it is, but there is a kind of a leniency given to a general category, not much, but a little bit. So this kind of describes the writing the module. The next comes the day two of the test. So now let's talk about the fourth module, that is the speaking one. This is one of the modules which most of the students are scared about. So I will be getting you tips and ways to improve your speaking skills in the further coming episodes. Make sure to like and share all the channels so that you're notified, and also press the bell notification icon. So this has three parts, and the interview is recorded. The entire interview between you and the examiner is recorded, and the recording begins right from the point of the entrance of the room. As soon as you step to the room, the examiner begins the recording. You are welcomed and greeted by the examiner, and you're welcome into the room, and the entire conversation is recorded. This is recorded so that there's no partiality or wrong marking being done. So the recording is, so there are two markings that happens in the speaking module. One is the examiner is interviewing you in person, he gives the marking, and then the recording is again being listened by another examiner, a third person, and they give their marking on their basis and judgment. So the entire interview is recorded, and the duration is just 10 to 15 minutes. It all depends how your conversation went with the examiner and the kind of topics that came in. So now what are the three parts that we're talking about? The first part is introduction, in which it's generally a Q&A based introduction portion, wherein you introduce yourself, then they look at your passport. So that is a task one. And the part two, you have a cue card. The examiner will give you a cue card. It has a certain topic and 3 bullet points that you need to cover. And then you get 1 minute of preparation time. You will be given again a piece of paper and a pencil. So if you wish to, you can actually jot down the bullet points that you would be kind of speaking during this conversation. So once the 1 minute preparation time is over, the examiner will ask you, okay, are you ready to speak? And then the recording starts again, and you have to speak continuously for a period of 1 or 2 minutes. Please do not worry if the examiner stops you, and sometimes it happens that a topic is such that you do not have much of a background information about it. Although you do not need any technical knowledge or any background information about a subject, it is just a general conversation that you need to be able to carry forward. There's no need of technical aspects, any data to be quoted, or anything to be learned, or any previous knowledge required. So it might happen that in the second task, you end up speaking just for around, say, 50 seconds. The examiner may even signal you to please go on. You have still more time. So practice the second part more importantly. Look at all the topics that have been covered till date. So, and prepare in mind a brief outline about what all can you hit or speak about on the topic. So you can actually prepare it. It's like a speech for a minute or two. And even if you extend the 2 minutes timer, the examiner may signal you to stop. And that's again nothing to worry about. The examiner is just making sure you stick to the given timeline, because there are more students to be interviewed, and so that the overall exam is conducted within the limit time frame. And the third task is an extended conversation about the topic that you have just spoken in the task two. It can be the same topic, or it could be adjacent topics surrounding that. So, for example, the second task, you might get a cue card saying, what are your opinions on the current fashion trends? And it will give you 3 kind of bullet points about what you think about this and what are the reasons for the change in this. And then in the third task, you might have more questions on fashion about, what is your opinion on the fashion changing so fast, and then the old trends coming back in. So it's again a extended conversation. So even if speaking time changes, in the first part, you are expected to speak in kind of 1 or 2 liners. In the second part, it is where you have an entire speech which you need to deliver. And the third part, it's again a Q&A based conversation, but you are expected to speak more than the examiner. So if an examiner is asking you a question, you are expected to reply within like 6, 7 sentences or points. I would be discussing that in very detail in the coming episodes. So please make sure you like the channel, subscribe to it, share the word with your friends and family if you think somebody can benefit from this. Also hit the notification bell so that you're notified as soon as the next video is uploaded. So that kind of covers the 4 modules for the listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And now let's give you answers to the 10 very common myths that are surrounded around the IELTS test. If you found value in this video up till now, please make sure to like, comment down below if you feel I've left anything, so that I'll make sure I cover those topics, that information, while making a video, a detailed video on each of the modules. So let's begin with the very first, that it is you can score better at some IELTS test centers than other. Well, that is not true, because this is a very homogeneously conducted exams or tests in which the trainers are the exact same way. The bullet points that they look for while scoring are exactly similar, and all the test results or all the test papers for the first 3 modules for the speaking recordings are cross-examined by a third person. So there is no way that there can be some partial marking be done or any partiality towards a particular center, and that you might end up scoring 1 or 2 more bands if you appear at one center and like, you know, you hear about, you know, this teacher is a little stricter than that, you have a better chance of scoring good with this professor or a teacher than that. But this is not true for any of the IELTS centers. It can be IDP or even the British Council, because it is a very structured way in which the exam is done, and it's a very regimental way for marking. And it is not true. The second one is you need to have an accent, or having an accent will enable you to achieve a higher score, especially in a speaking test. That is again false. What they are looking for is your fluency in the language. You do not kind of use more of fillers. You are very comfortable with the language. You have a decent vocabulary level. You speak in a correct grammatical sentence. You can have a conversation with the person, and you can communicate your ideas very comfortably with the other person. So that is the whole idea of the speaking module, and having an accent wouldn't help in that situation. So if you have one, there's no issue, but faking it you might actually end up losing some marks and grades in this. So speak naturally as you speak. Do not try to fake it, because that comes across very easily, because the examiners are trained to find out that, and they have interviewed so many students that they can actually pick it up very instantly. So make sure to not fake an accent, and do not try to have an accent and think that, okay, if I speak an American accent or a British accent or an Australian accent or any of those things, then I have a better chance of scoring a higher band on this. That is not true. Third is the vocabulary needs to be at the highest level, or just using more complex words for the heck of it will get you a higher score. That is again a very big myth. As mentioned, they are not looking for a very higher vocabulary, or the best. If you have it, that's well and good. It might help you, but you need to know where to use what, and you need to be comfortable about it. So if you have a decent vocabulary level, also make sure before the test to kind of expand your vocabulary pool and learn new words so that you can incorporate within your language, because the more the words you have, the more variety you can use them, not only in the speaking module, but also for the writing module, because that's where, again, your grammar, your vocabulary, your sentence formation, your thought process, the way you're conveying your ideas are marked upon. So if you have a good range of vocabulary, it will really help you. But this doesn't mean that if you have a decent range, you might lose on the bands. That's not true. The number 4 being the speaking score depends on the mood, or how tired or fresh the examiner is. So if you are a first candidate, the examiner is really fresh and energetic and happy, and so you are number 10 or 50, and the examiner is already tired, and you might lose bands because the examiner is drained. That is not true. As mentioned, your speaking test is recorded. The entire conversation is recorded, and it is again cross-examined by a third person who checks the scores, listens to your conversations, and if he or she feels that the score is unjust, it might be an overscore or an underscore, they will correct it and give the appropriate score for that. So this again is nothing to worry about for a speaking test. You need to be fresh, you need to be energetic, you need to do your best, and you'll get the bands that you deserve definitely for that. And the number 5, as I mentioned, the IELTS is conducted by 2 kind of an agencies, that is the British Council and the IDP. So this is regarding that. British Council tests are tougher than IDP. It's nothing of that sorts. As I kind of addressed the saying in the myth number one, the tests are very much standardized across the board, so you can appear anywhere. You will get the same band score of what you deserve. So it is not possible that you might score like an 8 band in IDP and a 6 or a British Council or vice versa, because the way the tutors and examiners are trained is exactly similar. The scoring pointers are similar. The way they mark is similar. So there's nothing different in both these things. Then number 6 is speaking is the most important module. Some people believe that, like I will put a good first impression and then this will impact my other modules. This is not the truth. All 4 modules are equally important. So as you know, or you might have seen, like for an undergrad or a postgrad, many universities actually mention the minimum band requirement that they are looking for a particular course, and it's different for an undergrad or a postgrad. So they might say, if you for a university, they might mention that for the eligibility, you need to score a minimum of 6 bands in all the 4 modules. And for a postgrad, it may say a 7 off in all the 4. So each module is important, and they add on to your final score, which is also very much important. So you need to pay equal importance. You need to give equal importance to all the 4 modules, practice them with equal sincerity, because every band or every score will run to your overall score system. Number 7, I need a minimum of 7 bands to pass the test. As I mentioned, there is no fail or a pass on this test. You're just marked from a range of 0 to 9. So this kind of is like a scale of measurement. So if you get, say, a 1 or a 2 or a 3, that indicates that you are not at power, or you are not that good with the language. For now, you need some practice. And if you score an 8 or a 9, it just means that you are very good in this language, you're very proficient, and you're very fluent with the language. That's about it. It is just testing your language skill. There's no pass or a fail. And again, you can reappear this test. There's no limitation that once you appear, you can appear for a particular time frame. But of course, every time you reappear, you're losing on your money. You need to give the exam test. Plus, you need to invest your time in preparation. Plus, you have to block 2 days for both the tests. So there's now no minimum band requirement but there is a minimum band requirement from the universities. So make sure you first check the university websites for what they are looking for, so that you don't end up missing the band score and then later regretting that. So first do the research on the university aspect for the course. What are they demanding? And then make sure you score above that. And IELTS is not that difficult. It's just about the practice, the right kind of practice, and most importantly, getting it checked and getting a check on yourself, which I will be covering in the further coming episodes. And moving on, the number 8 says, IELTS tests may be simple if I give in another country. So this is again a myth. Some people might think, if I say I'm from India, and if I'm planning to go to States or a UK, I might get marked differently there than I appear in India. As I mentioned in the earlier 2 myths, the marking is very standardized. No matter where you go, the kind of questions, the way the exam is conducted, is very much standardized across the board. So there's no difference in the geographical location, the agency that you choose to appear, that is British Council or IDP. There's no difference. You would score equally same on both the tests, or any test center for that matter. Number 9 is, in the writing module, if I exceed the word count, then I shall score more. So as you saw, that writing module, both general and academic, has 2 tasks. The first one is a letter or an essay or a report, and then a task 2 is an essay writing for 250 words. So as a general term of rule, if you are given a word count limit, please do not exceed and do not write less. Please make sure to be within that range, because if you fall short of the word count, it actually gives an impression to the examiner that this person does not have much of information about this, or he or she wasn't comfortable communicating the idea forward. Or if you exceed that, that shows you are not concise with the kind of information you want to put into the writing task. So make sure you stay within the range specified on the test, so that you do not give any avenue for the examiner to deduct your marks or to score less. And the final 10th is just practicing without evaluating the test will enable me to score a higher band. That is not true. Yes, practice makes a man perfect, but IELTS is not just about practice back to back and putting in the labor for it. You need to actually sit down for a test, give it very sincerely, give you 100% in the test as well, and then get it evaluated from a good teacher or a recognized trainer or an IELTS center so that they can actually pinpoint you the mistakes that you're doing and that you don't end up repeating those again. Because if you just do it by yourself, for you, you're speaking it right. But when you speak with a second or third person, and they know better English than you, then they can point to you, you know what, when you were speaking, you had this mistakes or you were grammatically incorrect. You could have spoken in this way as well. They can give pointers. So make sure for all the 4 modules, you actually end up evaluating yourself and make sure to first read a lot on this. I would be linking certain books down in the description. If you wish to practice, you can buy this from these links. Well, this is an overview about the IELTS that I wanted to cover, because all the interviews are good for you as a student, but this is a very important prerequisite that you require while applying for a university, maybe undergrad or postgrad, and even for immigration general purposes as well. So there would be further more 4 episodes coming down in the coming weeks, in which I'll be breaking down each module to the micro details as much as possible, as much as I know from my experience and whatever I know about it. So please make sure to like the channel, subscribe to it, hit the notification bell so that you get notified the very moment the video is uploaded. Also, please make sure to share the word. It might be one of your friends or your family members who will be planning to go overseas in the coming future. They could benefit from these tips and tricks, and they might end up scoring a good band. And if you feel that I might have left anything from the 4 modules, or I might have forgot or overlooked onto some topic, please make sure to mention that down in the comment section, and I'll make sure in the further coming episodes, when I describe each module in detail, I will definitely touch down on those points. So make sure you watch this entire video and like, share, subscribe to the channel. Mention in the comments below what you want, or if you have any further doubts or clarifications, I'll do my best to answer those questions. You can also DM me on Instagram or Facebook. The handles are the Student Insights Podcast. Make sure to follow me there as well on both the social platforms, because that is where we get extra value from these videos, where there's more value that I'm trying to add, with tips and some tricks that you can use, which might benefit you as an international student or somebody who is looking forward to going overseas. So make sure you like the channel, subscribe it, hit the notification bell, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll see you in the next episode. Till then, stay safe, stay sound. Bye-bye.